So, for my first interaction, I met at Starbucks with Diraj, and I told him all about my education and just how growing up for me, it was really important to my family to get good grades, but it was also important to be involved in many things throughout my whole life. Like, I was involved in clubs, honor programs, sports, and my outside school activities were important to my family because my parents wanted me to have a well balanced life with education, friends, family, and fun. A typical day in high school for me was pretty much getting up for school and being ready by 8 every month, and then every Monday school would start at 9 because we had late start in high school. And I'd go to school all day and be done around 3. And then after school, I would go home, finish my homework, or hang out with friends, kind of do whatever I wanted to do that day. And then I'd go to soccer practice. And following practice, I'd have dinner with my family and then either hang out with friends or do homework. So my days for high school and for elementary and middle school, I kind of got to choose what I wanted to do. I just had to make sure I attended like my practices or anything that I was definitely involved in. But it was just kind of relaxed in that my parents didn't like force me to do homework or do anything like that. It was just kind of expected of me, and I always wanted to get my homework done no matter what and make sure I had it turned in on time for the next day. So Diraj told me that a typical day in India for school would be getting up at 5:30, going to tutoring before school started, and then school would be from 7 to 4, and tutoring would follow the next day until 7:30 at night. This was a traditional culture of India that almost all families and children's schedules would look like. I cannot imagine getting up that early and doing school for that long of a day just because I already have a hard time getting up early, and I think it'd be really hard to focus and like actually get a ton done in that amount of time because I feel like at a certain point I would need to like do other things or like be active and like let other energy out instead of just focusing on schoolwork all day. Another major difference in India is that they didn't really have other activities, so it was mainly just focused on education. And he said that he noticed a major difference when he came to America his junior year of high school. And all Americans were involved in sports, clubs, activities, hanging out with friends, like doing all kinds of things. Like the high schools all had like the big football teams and like football games or huge events and stuff like that. And I think it's just interesting because I can't really imagine having like not going to football games in high school or like having soccer or having events that I would do. And that was just a big difference for him because he wasn't used to like people doing other things after school besides going to tutoring or just kind of focusing on your homework and studies. Um, I also think I grew as a person through the various activities I was involved in. So I think it would be, for me, I think it's important to have other activities besides school because, like, soccer kind of helped shape who I am. I met other people on my team, so it wasn't just all people from my high school because it was a travel team. So I think a lot of my activities I do, like volunteering, things like that, it just kind of makes me who I am partly. And I think it's important just to do other things instead of just focusing on one thing your whole life. But it was very interesting to learn how important the education was, and that was kind of all that they did. Another big difference was that in India, high school stops at 10th grade, and then they go to college right after that for 2 years, pretty much starting when you're 18 years old. And I thought this was interesting because college is such a big step, and I like cannot imagine being prepared or ready to go to college after my sophomore year of high school. Um, After college, then typically they go on to graduate school, like medical or engineering, and then they continue on with their job and life from there. I thought it was interesting too because I don't know how I'd be able to know exactly what I want to go into right after sophomore year. And since you only have 2 years of college before graduate school, you kind of need to know. Like, for example, like just this past summer, I decided I wanted to do education. And when I was also a sophomore in high school, I didn't even want to go to Michigan State. And I was like, I'm not going there. So I just think it's hard to be able to, like, it'd be hard to decide right then and there after sophomore year where I want to go and exactly what I want to do, since you don't have a ton of time to like figure it out. I also think I learned that American culture seems to be more relaxed and kind of a balance with different activities, while most students focus on their education and going to college of their choice is like a big thing. Like everyone wants to go to college mostly. But I also think most students are just involved in a lot of other things and people hang out with their friends a lot, I feel like. But it was fun and interesting to learn about the different education and culture in India. And I'm really excited for my third interaction just because it's fun comparing and kind of seeing how different it would be living somewhere else or growing up in a different type of culture.